In the past several decades, there's been a movement to a more learner-centered approach to classroom practice with a de-emphasis on teacher-led instruction. Fortunately, there's been a corresponding development of a more learner-centered approach to classroom management and discipline. This presentation will provide a brief overview of such approaches. My name is Bill Hewitt, and I am Professor Emeritus at Valdosta State University and Adjunct Professor at Capella University. The presentation is narrated by Jeff Hewitt, who is assisting me with the production of these videos.
Establishing a classroom environment that is supportive of learning is a challenge in the modern classroom in the USA. While this has always been an issue, especially for new teachers, there are increasing numbers of learners with not only intellectual, cognitive, or visual processing disabilities in the regular classroom, but also learners with behavioral and emotional disabilities as well as learners on the autism spectrum. In the past, many children with these disabilities would have been placed in special education classrooms with 5 to 10 learners. They are now in regular classrooms of 20 to 30 learners. Educators are now required to perform a response to intervention before learners can be referred to special education class. This process can take months to complete, which means that the classroom teachers have extra challenges in establishing a quality learning environment. Where the educator uses a teacher-led instruction model, this is somewhat easier as children are mainly either listening to the teacher or working independently. However, the use of learner-centered instruction with more emphasis on active inquiry and group work provides additional challenges. Fortunately, there are a number of classroom management approaches that address the increased student interactions among learners in a learner-centered classroom. The reference section includes some resources that are worthy of exploration. There are a number of theory-based alternatives. For example, Jerome Freeberg and Stacy Lamb describe the fundamentals of applying Carl Rogers' person-centered approach to creating positive teacher-student relationships. Likewise, Bill Perkey and John Novak describe Perkey's invitational approach, which is based on self-concept theory and also has decades of implementation. Susie Edwards provides an overview of an alternative approach developed by a group of educators in Australia using Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory. And Eileen Flicker and Janet Hoffman describe the Developmental Discipline program that was developed as part of the Child Development Project. This program has a focus on the social moral development of children with a foundation in John Bowlby's attachment theory. Alternatively, a number of researchers reinterpreted research findings to highlight those components that are most relevant to learner-centered classrooms. Examples include work completed by Jer Brophy and Catherine Randolph and Carolyn Evertson. All of these approaches to classroom management focus on what William Glasser called management without coercion. However, most of the classroom management alternatives developed over the last 2 decades rely heavily on social-emotional learning research that show a positive impact on school learning when schools implement these approaches. It appears that the key component of successful implementation is a change in mindset from control to empowerment as educators focus on connecting emotionally with learners and encouraging development of self-regulation. 2 of the programs whose developers use the work in SEL as a foundation for creating methods and techniques with a specific focus on classroom management and discipline deserve special attention: Responsive Classroom and Conscious Discipline. There are several commonalities between these 2 programs. Both recommend school-wide adoption of their programs, have extensive professional development resource available, and have empirical data to support their effectiveness. The Response Classroom approach focuses on developing learners' self-regulatory and social skills as they simultaneously develop academic skills. The intention is to change how teachers interact with learners rather than modifying the content of what is taught. It is therefore applicable for any curriculum. The classroom interventions include such activities as the use of positive language, interactive modeling, reflecting on logical consequences, engaging in conflict resolution using activities such as guided discovery, and group-based collaborative problem solving. Conscious discipline is explained in detail in a book written by Becky Bailey titled Conscious Discipline, as well as extensive videos. There is a focus on facilitating a sense of safety, creating empathetic connections with others, and engaging in reflective problem solving. There are 7 skills associated with these 3 goals. For each of the skills, there is an identified personal power that must be developed. Educators must develop these powers as well as learners. For the goal of safety, there are 2 skills: composure and assertiveness. The skill of composure is developed through the personal power of perception. When people perceive the world through a helpful perception, it enhances the ability to maintain one's composure. The skill of assertiveness is developed through the personal power of attention. Attending to how we are respectful of others and how we want to be treated allows one to explicitly set boundaries and is essential for setting limits and achievement goals. For the goal of connections, there are 3 associated skills: encouragement, choices, and empathy. The skill of encouragement of others is enhanced through the personal power of unity. This occurs as the individual begins to recognize that enhancing the group facilitates the individual's own development. The skill of making choices that are enhancing to one's life, rather than creating obstacles, is developed through the individual power of free will. Strengthening this power is an essential component of developing self-regulation. The skill of empathy is developed through the power of acceptance. As children accept their own situations and mistakes as well as those of others, they can relax and realize that choices are not permanent and neither are the consequences. Finally, the goal of reflective problem solving is enhanced through the development of skills of positive intent and consequences. It is important to recognize that problem solving is dependent on developing a safe environment and making connection with others. The skill of positive intent is developed through the individual power of love, in which educators and learners are encouraged to see the best in themselves and others. That means to see the positive intent as much as possible. Finally, the skill of considering consequences is enhanced through the individual power of intention. This occurs as individuals develop the self-awareness that every choice has a consequence that results from the action itself. Adults establish intermediate consequences, both pleasant and aversive, to guide learners and protect them from the natural consequences that may come later. An important additional component of conscious discipline is its extension to parental education. Parents who participate in this set of activities reported they changed both their perceptions and their behavior and enjoyed an enhanced parent-child relationship, with a resulting decrease in challenges with their child's behavior. Educators implementing a constructivistic approach to instruction should become familiar with this literature as they design their classroom and school discipline systems. Special consideration should be given to the responsive classroom and the conscious discipline programs, as they have solid empirical evidence to support their effectiveness. Additionally, consideration should be given to a parent education component, as many of the discipline challenges in classrooms occur because of a discrepancy between home and school expectations for behavior and the skills used to actualize these expectations. This is especially concerning when a parent finds a child's behavior acceptable at home when dealing with the child one-on-one, but the child's disruption of the entire class with the same behavior distracts from the individual's as well as other children's learning experiences.